in interesting times. This week's stories. Paramore community in Florida receives assistance from church youth. Ontario teachers demand an increase in funding for public education. Plus, NBA Cares helps out a Chicago community. And hockey scores big among youth of Filipino descent in Canada. This is Eagle News Weekend Edition, broadcasting from Los Angeles, bringing you stories from around the globe. I'm Alan Basoyahe. In Florida, Paramore community in Orlando receives help from youth volunteers mobilized by the Church of Christ at an Aid to Humanity event there. Eagle News correspondent Claudine Kadai reports.
Once the first school for African Americans, the now J.B. Callahan Neighborhood Center is the cornerstone of the Paramore community. The center provides a place for the youth to give back.
Members of the Paramore community are greeted with smiling faces and thoughtful hearts, an initiative with the relaunching of the Iglesia Ni Cristos, My Countrymen, My Brethren.
We are having our Aid to Humanity in Paramore, Florida, around near the downtown Orlando area.
There was a welcoming presence by the youth who embraced community service. We asked a few of the youth participants why they volunteer for community outreach programs such as this one.
I've been taught when I was young to always help out, to always give out, to give help for those in need. I try my best to be helpful at all times, and this is one way where you can display helpfulness towards others, especially to the ones that are not capable or at least are in need.
As a member of society, I feel like it's very important to participate in these outreach programs because you get to help the community around you.
It's important to give back to our community because we give services to people that other people don't really have access to.
The youth also have other ways in which they continue their efforts to give back to their community.
I participate in community service just like in participating in events like in this exact event and helping out, setting up, giving out food, giving out clothes, giving out any necessary things that the people may need, especially the ones in need. And I also try my best to go out, participate in those soup kitchens.
I've been participating in a lot of community service lately, and one of the ways is through outreach programs such as these. And also here in Orlando, we have many different opportunities and volunteer services that you can participate in.
Margaret Mead says to never doubt in the small group of thoughtful, committed citizens that can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. In Orlando, Florida, I'm Claudine Kadai, Eagle News 125.
Thanks, Claudine. Coming up, Ontario teachers demand an increase in funding for public education. Eagle News Weekend Edition will return shortly. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Eagle News Weekend Edition coming to you from Los Angeles. I'm Alan Basoyahe. Public school teachers in Ontario demand more funding for public education as they walk out of their classrooms during a province-wide strike. Eagle News correspondent Ashley Sakmar has the details.
We are here today at Front Street in the city of Toronto, where the ETFO, or the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario, walks out for the second week of their one-day province-wide strike in support of funding for public education. Elementary classes are suspended as 83,000 members of the ETFO, or the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario, gather at the picket lines to protest Ford government's cuts to education. Last year in November, ETFO voted for a Work to Rule campaign, which escalated to an ongoing 2-week rotating strike from various school boards across the province from February 3rd to February 13th after no agreement was made between the provincial government and the teachers' union. In connection to this, various school boards, including the Toronto District School Board, or TDSB, announced the cancellation of first-term report cards for elementary school students as part of the Work to Rule Job Action campaign by the ETFO. According to a member of the ETFO, we strongly believe in things we are fighting for, and as a result will not concede just to reach an easy agreement. We will continue to fight for our students, to protect their rights to quality public education, and to fight for what we believe in. As a result of the situation, the Ford government recently announced a reimbursement up to $60 per day in childcare costs, specifically for parents of kids up to age 12. According to Chatelaine News, ETFO members continue to advocate for special education resources, increase salary wages by 1.9% at inflation rate, smaller class sizes to reduce violent incidents in classrooms, protection for Ontario's full-day kindergarten program, fair hiring practices and fair compensation for educators such as occasional teachers, early childhood educators, professional personnel, and support. The goal is for the Ford government and Stephen Lecce, Minister of Education, to return to the bargaining table to resume contract talks, according to Sam Hammond, Union President of ETFO.
We need public education to be properly funded. We need to reverse the cuts. And Stephen Lecce, we are tired of the narrative that teachers are out here for themselves. We are not out here for ourselves. We are out here because we love our work, we love students, we love teaching, and we want to be back in the classroom. We are so supported by our brothers, sisters, comrades in the labor movement, and we are shoulder to shoulder and standing together to fight for the future of public education. You're incredible, ETT. Your smiling faces and your energy and your enthusiasm is so contagious. And Ontario's going to know, and educators throughout Canada are going to know and see that Ontario teachers, Ontario education workers care about kids and care about their futures. Thank you so much, and we're continuing to stand strong today. Solidarity, ETT. You're amazing.
What began as talks and contract negotiations between the teachers' unions and the Ontario government back in 2019 has escalated to a series of rotating strikes that has left thousands of classrooms empty in Ontario. From Toronto, Canada, Ashley Sakmar, Eagle News 1 with 25.
Thanks, Ashley. Up next, NBA Cares helps out a Chicago community. And hockey scores big among youth of Filipino descent in Canada. Eagle News Weekend Edition will be right back. Stay with us. This is Eagle News Weekend Edition, coming to you from Los Angeles. I'm Alan Basoyahe. Many people know about the NBA All-Star Game, the three-point competition, and the slam dunk contest. What others might not know is that these NBA All-Stars hold events off-court as well. One of these is the NBA Cares event. This year, NBA Cares went to a community in Chicago, reaching out to residents there. Eagle News correspondent Aljamain Santos with the story.
Every year, a city hosts the NBA All-Star, and every year the NBA hosts its community aid through various events through the NBA Cares program. This year, the NBA All-Star is in Chicago, Illinois, and their aim to help the community began at the Greater Chicago Food Depository.
Well, it's the most important event. I mean, when you can give back, you're able to supply food or give your time. That means more than sometimes playing in a game or sometimes competing in a contest. When guys can do stuff like this, you see everybody that's here smiling because it's fun. It's because of it's for a good cause, and it's something that needs to continue to happen. And NBA has done a great job over the years of putting on events like this, and it's even like stuff that we don't even hear about, or the media doesn't even hear about the NBA or other athletes do in their community. So, like I said, everything doesn't have to be public. Everything doesn't have to be in the media, but It's 450 NBA players, and it is 450 big hearts.
Serve their communities and educate as well.
As you know, our young people, our younger players are much fortunate than some of us who played before. And the NBA want to make them understand that as happy as you are playing in this league and having what has come to you, don't forget about the community. There's a lot of community up there who are suffering, and you see that. I think our players' actions speak much volume of what we're talking about here. This is the first time where we see our players are cutting million dollar check. I'll give you just an example. In the city of Atlanta, we have a player like Trae Young, who just gave $1 million check a couple of weeks ago to the community. So these are the example of our DNA. We believe on giving back, and our players are getting it. They're following the best example of the Dikembe Mutombo.
Well, I just got back from India, and I was doing an NBA Care event over there too. And the NBA is a global basketball game, but we do more than just play a basketball game. We go out, we talk to the kids, we do food, we do food banks, we do the children's hospital, we create home, we do a lot more than just playing basketball. And it's great that we can teach our youth that this is a great thing to do, is to share and to get back for time.
What kind of message you want to send out to local?
I send out to my kids. I got my kids here doing it because they need to see what we do, and they need to understand it. Every year I have my kids, instead of giving clothes away and throwing clothes away, they put it in a bag and taking it, donate to stuff. So we always trying to find a way to help other people out.
Well, I like to involve myself with. I'm very intrigued when I'm visiting little kids and seeing their situations and trying to compare situations with mine and how I grew up and knowing the people that I looked up to and just watching everything that they're doing. So I try to go out and try to be an example and try to doing the right things and just giving back and supporting the ones that support me.
What does it mean to have an NBA Cares program here in Chicago, and what does it do for the community?
It's fantastic for a couple of reasons. First, just let me tell you a little bit about the need here in Chicago. 1 in 8 people in Cook County face food insecurity, 1 in 6 children. The economy's gotten better, but there are a lot of people here in Chicago that are still hurting, especially on the south and west side of the city and on the south and west suburbs. There are neighborhoods with more than 20-30% poverty and unemployment rates. So there's a lot of people out there that are still in need. And so having the NBA here is fantastic because it helps us raise awareness of the need for this. But it also, there's going to be 500 people here today packing food for families in need. And so it's amazing. And this is actually the largest volunteer repack event in our history, in our 41-year history. So it's great for building awareness, but also all this food is going to go out to food pantries and soup kitchens and shelters and people who need it. So it's really good. We're very grateful. That's a really good question. Obviously, hunger is a year-round problem, right? And so I think people tend to think of it around the holidays. It's dangerously cold out there today. And so it is a time to be top of mind, but it's a year-round problem. And so it's great that, all the NBA fans are hopefully seeing players out giving back to their community, and hopefully they're inspired to do the same and help out their neighbors in need.
Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.
Extending a helping hand no matter what walk of life has been the experience of everyone involved with the NBA Cares program and the inspiration it created for the community. Once the NBA leaves the city, players and staff hope to have inspired the local community and city officials to continue creating the awareness and provide the manpower required to keep helping one another. From the Greater Chicago Food Depository, Aljamain Santos, Eagle News, always one with 25.
Thanks, Aljamain. Meanwhile, a growing number of young people of Filipino descent in Canada have embraced the national sport of their adopted country. And as Eagle News correspondent Thomas I. Likeness tells us, one of these players has also followed the practice of many professional athletes who use their sport to share their beliefs. Take a look.
Most people think basketball is the sport of Filipinos, but here in the Canadian city of Edmonton, b-ball has a rival. It seems that hockey is a hit among young people from the Philippines. 12-year-old Ryan Belisi has been playing organized hockey for 2 years now. Ryan says his interest in the game came naturally.
I think it was really just me growing up in the environment. Well, I think I went to tons of hockey games as a very small kid, so maybe when I was a baby book. So.
Now, Ryan is not alone on the ice. He says there's a growing number of Filipino Canadians shooting pucks.
Well, there's a lot of good Filipino hockey players, but it's not just basketball that we play, but it's a variety of sports. It's not just those sports that we're all traditionally used to, like volleyball and basketball. It's also things like hockey, but.
Ryan has combined his love of sports with something else, as evidenced by this logo on his helmet.
It's just the INC sticker boat, and it's the logo boat, and I hope to represent INC at all times when I'm playing on the ice boat.
INC stands for Iglesia Ni Cristo, or Church of Christ, the church to which Ryan belongs. What was his motivation?
Because anything is possible with God, but right? So, without him, I can't play as well, but I can't do a lot of things that I can do today, well, so.
Hockey, like other sports, can lead to college scholarships for players who excel at the game. Is this in Ryan's future?
Yeah. With God's mercy, anything can happen, but so.
Tonight's game didn't go so well. The Sabres lost 7-6.
It was a good battle until the end, but they just came out on top.
Hockey is becoming a family affair for the Belisis. Ryan's younger brother, CJ, he's pictured here with the rest of the family, is also in organized hockey. Although Ryan loves the game of hockey, he's embraced something far more important. He stands up for what he believes and is freely willing to share it. In Edmonton, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News, 1/25.
Thanks, Thomas. That is this week's Eagle News Weekend Edition. Join us next week for stories from our bureaus across the nation and around the globe. Visit our websites at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenews and on facebook.com/eaglenews. Thank you for watching. I'm Alan Basoyahe. I'm 1/25.